Enshrouded just dropped their brand new water update, easily their most transformative, and dare I say, maybe their best update they've ever made. It gives players a whole new biome with new creatures, armor, weapons, quests, skills, a fishing minigame, and the absolute best water mechanics I think I've ever seen in a survival game. Building in Enshrouded is already the gold standard, and it's been taken to a whole other level with, yes, the ability to build underwater. And with all this beautiful content, there was absolutely no way I was going to say no when Keen Games reached out and asked me to talk about their Wake of the Water update. And today we're going to cover it in its entirety. But what are we waiting for? Let's dive in. First and foremost, the new late game biome, the Veilwater Basin, is now accessible, found between the Albaneve Summits and Black Mire. Keep in mind that you will need to have upgraded your flame to the max achievable level before this content drop to remove the red shroud from the area. It may be the most visually stunning yet, with intermingling tropic jungle and ancient ruins, separated by areas of sluggish swamp, only outdone by the vast expanses of free-flowing water and the hidden wonders and danger below the surface. The fastest path is to likely glide northwest from the ancient spire in the Nomad Highlands until you come across the Veilwater Basin outlook. From there, the next point of interest you'll encounter is a little town of Riverreach, which sadly won't offer much of a warm welcome. Creatures here start at level 37 and only rise in level the deeper you go. It's worth noting here that this update raised max player level to 45 and weapon level to 50. To avoid banging your head against a wall, the devs recommend players are at least level 35 before heading into this biome. Before long, you'll come across Dragon Dream Lake, where the adventure really gets started. The Emerald Shores and Sanguine Seas questline will guide you beyond the giant skull at the center of the large body of water. At the opposite side of the small island, you'll find a wharf with a lost soul unlocking Captain Melville, the latest survivor added to Enshrouded. Once placed at your base, he will naturally give you some new quests, not to mention share his expertise in the new minigame also included in this patch that we'll cover in a little bit. Meanwhile, each of the existing survivors will also have new quests for you that I recommend you grab for easier access to many of the game's new tools before delving deeper into the basin. As expected, all the quests and new points of interest are water focused, guiding players to learn the new swimming mechanics. Simply, all water is completely diveable now, and you'd only be doing yourself a disservice avoiding the depths with bountiful loot hidden amongst the darkness. Further, many of the dungeons I encountered required the navigating of winding submerged tunnels. Stressful too, with only a limited amount of oxygen with each descent. If you do run out, health drains incredibly fast. I nearly found myself partnered with Davy Jones on more than one occasion. Don't worry though, as you progress and complete the basin's quests, the new gear, foods, and potions all come specifically suited to help you navigate the liquid jungle. As an example, swimming will apply a new wet debuff that the new gear naturally combats with various levels of wet duration reducing effects. To gather the resources below the surface, 2 new tools have been added in the mining sieve, crafted at the blacksmith, and new underwater grappling hook at the carpenter. The sieve will be critical as it functions as your underwater pickaxe. Many of the update's resources will be found at the water's base, but none more important than gold ore, tied to many of the game's new recipes. Initially, it might seem weird to require a whole new tool for the underwater mining, but when you think about it, it is kind of hard for a man or woman to swing a weapon or tool while also swimming. Unfortunately for us, the new Drac are much better acclimated to underwater combat and won't be afraid to engage on land or sea. The Drac are a reptilian race and are the core inhabitants of this part of Embervale, who are commonplace across the biome. Although they aren't the only new creatures it has to offer, with both giant crab, water reptile, and the docile capybara joining their ranks. The capybara, unlike the rest, are not hostile and make for the latest tame creature added to Enshrouded. Unfortunately, there are no resources to extract from them aside from their hair, which can only be claimed with the swing of your weapon. If you're squeamish, there's no need to watch this. Unfortunately, the sacrifice is necessary as the hair will be critical in crafting the new armors added in this update, of which there are 6, 2 for each of the combat classes. Weapons and armor beyond those added received massive rebalancing. For instance, weapons now give effects more consistent to the flavor of their names and descriptions. The key example provided to illustrate this were the ice-coated daggers, which weirdly before this update did not do any ice damage. This has been rectified for this weapon, and you will likely notice for many others on your adventures. Pieces of armor and rings have also had their stats tweaked, often to give more health, stamina, and mana regeneration to compensate for the base regeneration rates having been reduced to add nuance, making combat more interesting. Next, lore weapons can now be crafted at each tier to stay relevant for much longer. But maybe best of all, a brand new greatsword weapon class is now available and supporting skills, but also those to assist your ability to traverse the water. And speaking of the water, when looking for a break from combat, you can now sit back, relax, and do some fishing. To get started, simply craft the basic fishing rod. By then combining it with any of the new 6 fishing baits, no water creature will be safe. Each bait varies in its potency for catching the different rarity of fish, with some having a higher chance of catching the more epic variants. For best results, you will want to find a location where there is an obvious disturbance in the water, or for complete certainty, dive under the surface, and if you see fish, well, you can fish. Beyond that, hold your rod, select your bait, and cast. After a few seconds, you will get an obvious bite and prompt to click, and the minigame begins. Simply, all you must do is push your key or button in the direction opposite the fish is pulling in an effort to exhaust their stamina before they break the line. The higher rarity the fish, the more stamina milestones you'll have to overcome to claim your trophy. Admittedly, in my 30 minutes of fishing, I was only able to catch a single fish. It turns out that with the basic rod, it's damn near impossible to catch any of the more epic fish, but more powerful rods will become available as you progress. And yes, fishing is available in basically all biomes, as bodies of water have been added across the entire map, with all kinds of fishing locations to take advantage of. With your fish caught, you'll be able to cook them at the new crafting station in the seafood grill. Any caught fish or seafood like crab meat from those I fought earlier can be grilled here for fine meals. In addition to the grill, 3 other workstations came in this update in the roaster and coffee brewer, which undoubtedly means coffee must now be on the Enshrouded menu. But also the grind mill, which for whatever reason completely dumbfounded me in my time in the wake of the water update. Seriously, I think I spent 90 minutes trying to figure this out. You see, this update added a new mechanic in Force, which can be seen as a requirement for the grind mill. This can be fulfilled by either building a windmill or rotating water wheel in your base. Seeing how this was a water update, I opted to try the wheel. Big mistake as it turns out. In my first attempt, I just built it on the ground and unsurprisingly, I didn't get the force I needed, so I head deeper into the basin and place it in the water, but still nothing. Next, I thought, well, I guess it makes sense that the water should be moving, so I filled the trench around my base with water. I'll explain how I did this in a second, and placed the wheel inside. Still, it wasn't giving my grind mill the force it needed. As a last resort, I figured I'd try to make my own waterfall and give myself the chance to test the water mechanics in real time. I raised a platform and effectively made an elevated bathtub and filled it with water. To do this, I had to first visit the blacksmith and craft a portable water pump. With this, you can visit any natural water source and interact with the water, kind of like how you would a pickaxe with ore, and fill the pump. Alternatively, the game now has barrels that can be crafted, placed, and from that point forward will capture rainwater. Otherwise, you're on the hook to travel back and forth from a body of water. With a full pump, I returned and emptied it into the tub. Water behavior in Enshrouded is just like real life, where it simply takes the shape of its container. Earlier, I had been messing around mining some aquamarine and decided to excavate around the water. Sure enough, the water filled the empty space. Next, I placed the new water dispenser in the wall of my bath to allow water to flow and fix the wheel underneath such that the water would flow over it. But still nothing. Okay, at this point, I was starting to lose my mind, but I thought maybe it had to be completely submerged in water, so I tried that. I built a second tub beneath to catch the falling stream and replaced the wheel, and finally it started turning. I checked the mill and confirmed at least the force requirement was met. For those who watch this video, make sure you let me know in the comments if you've got a better way to make these things work. Despite all my pain, I didn't get far enough into this update to unlock any of the recipes for the grind mill, so I didn't even get to reap the rewards of my labor. That said, I assume gold or gold ore will go in here. At least I think so, considering I still needed gold dust for the excellent fishing rod from Melville. Not to mention, I completely flooded my forward base during this whole process. Apparently the roaster and coffee brewer need to be above water to work. Who knew? And at this stage, you'd think I'd be discouraged, right? But no, I was inspired. You see, I had noticed that when interacting with flame altars, there was a new action to remove water that I had to investigate further. Turns out, it, well, works? A little quirky for sure, but it gets the job done. That said, it only removes within its radius for a short time as the water slowly trickles back in to fill the empty space. To make my underwater base, I had to act fast and place walls while periodically returning to the altar to remove water and keep it at bay. By repeating this process, I was able to secure a foothold into the basin, completely isolated from the body of water. During the process, I also dabbled with grates that also did a good job at drawing the water down. The more were laid, the larger the vortex too. While I did not myself continue expanding further into the water, I could only imagine how far you could get with additional altars and by taking advantage of the water barrier walls Keen Games has included that allows players to walk through while preventing water. Pretty neat. It's safe to say this update is an absolute banger. Make sure you check out Enshrouded today with my link in the video description and play the Wake of the Water update today. And check out their patch notes for even more new content I couldn't cover in today's video.